Hey, what's up, and welcome back to Fiverr Talks. It's Thursday, so that means I'm digging into the viewer comments today to answer your questions. We're going to talk about gig promotion. We're going to talk about order slipping. We're going to talk about removing reviews. All these things and more coming up in today's video, so don't miss it. That's right, this week we have seen a record number of questions come through the channel. There have been so many people who have been so kind, saying such nice things, and also asking questions. They're a part of this channel, they're a part of this community, and they want to know how to become better sellers. So thank you for sending those in. I will say, this is probably the first week that I might not get to every single question. What a cool problem to have. So I've tried to select those that I think are most applicable and most commonly asked. A lot of questions are maybe repeats from other people's questions, so I'm covering those together. It's going to be a really fun week, and I don't want to waste even another second giving you an intro. I just want to jump into these because I think they're so critical and cool. But just before we do, let me remind you that if you want to ask a question, if you've got something about your seller journey that you want to ask, leave me the questions in the comments down below. We do this every single Thursday where I sit down here on the couch, I look at your questions, and I just answer them candidly in a way that would help you, hopefully, go on to be a better Fiverr seller. So let's go ahead and jump in, shall we? Our first question comes from viewer CreativeMind Designs. Love that viewer name, user name, CreativeMind Designs. Here's his question, or her question. Am I allowed to ask customer support to remove an unlawful or unfair negative review? Well, let me start by saying I don't think there's anything unlawful about any sort of Fiverr review, but I know what you mean. Are you allowed to ask Fiverr to remove unfair negative reviews? Now, the answer to your question is yes, you're allowed to ask. The real answer to your question is most of the time Fiverr's going to say no. Up until several years ago, you were allowed to ask buyers to edit their reviews. And in fact, they didn't need customer support's help. There used to be a little edit icon right next to their comment, and at any time, they could edit their review. This was good, but this was also bad because there were sometimes, I'd heard stories like this happen, where somebody would do multiple projects for a buyer, and at some point, something went wrong. They got angry, and not only did they leave them a negative review, but they went back and changed every single review from the past to a negative review. So Fiverr started to figure out this is not a great idea that we allow people to edit their reviews later because they may not be true. It might not be the best representation of your work. But they've also taken kind of a hard stance on reviews now in the last couple years, saying that reviews cannot be changed, but there are certain instances where they can be changed. For instance, I'll tell you one where I got a review changed and the reason behind it. So I had a customer who had never purchased anything on Fiverr before buy from me. I delivered to them, and the autocomplete, the 3-day autocomplete happened because they left no response. When that happened, they thought that I did it. They left a 1-star review and basically said, this person auto-completed this project without my permission. I didn't even get to ask for any edits, blah, 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 blah. Even though I give 2 weeks and would have gladly helped her. She essentially used a 1-star review as blackmail to try to get me to respond to her. And I simply responded and said, hey, I'm here. Happy to help. She was obviously not really leaving a 1-star review. She was just frustrated that the autocomplete happened. So we talked to Fiverr. Fiverr says, yeah, that's kind of a buyer being silly, misusing reviews. And they did remove her review and gave her an opportunity to leave a real review, which ended up being 5 stars. So there are instances where buyers do silly things and crazy things, or maybe untrue things, where you could get a review changed, but it's very rare these days. Fiverr is sticking to their guns. They're not going to want to, their motivation is to keep the reviews the way they are. They don't want people manipulating the system. So if you really have a case, they're going to be able to look at your conversations. They're going to be able to look back at things and really determine if it is warranted for them to help change the review. And just because you don't like the review is not enough of a case for them to actually do it for you. So hope that helps. CreativeMind Designs. Thanks for watching. I've got Daniyal. Daniyal says, I started on Fiverr exactly 2 months ago. Welcome to the Fiverr family. And I've completed over 80 orders in 2 months. Daniyal, that's great. 80 orders in 2 months, that's really great for your first 2 months. I've earned $1,100 the last 2 months. That's over $500 a month, people. $550 a month. Great job. It's been awesome. But I've received very few orders in the last 2 weeks. Now I'm worried. This is a very common question, something I thought we'd talk about. My first question to you, Daniyal, would be, what have you changed? Did you change your pricing? Did you change anything about your gig description? Did you change your video? Did you change anything about your gig? That's the first thing I would ask. If the answer is yes, it's possible that some of those changes affected your rank in the search results or the rankings. Sometimes changes can have a negative result. Sometimes they can have a positive result. So I would ask, did you change anything? Secondly, I would ask, have you ever, in 2 short months, you've probably not been around long enough to see the wave, but I guess I wouldn't ask another question. I would simply say that there is a wave to the way that Fiverr sales work. There are going to be times when you're high up on the mountain. You're riding the wave. And there are other times when you're simply going to be hanging on for dear life. You're going to be, sitting there, the waters are calm, nothing's happening, and you just have to wait. That's the freelancing lifestyle. And you're going to have to get used to that eventually. I know this is a new thing for you, but it might just be that that's the way that your service flows. Sometimes it's hot. You'll find out these are my hot times of the year. These are my slow times of the year. It could just be that you've fallen on a slow time of the year. Or I would also ask, did you get any bad reviews in those 80 orders that you filled? That might have an effect. Have you had cancellations? That might have an effect. All of these things come together. There's no one reason why it would just stop, but keep your eye on those things. Do your best to avoid cancellations and keep getting good reviews, and you will come back. Trust me, there's a wave to it. You'll come back. Ride that wave. All right? Thanks for your question. Next question comes from Entertainment with Fun. Who doesn't love entertainment with fun? Thanks for watching. Their question is, and it's a very similar question to the last, I'm a seller on Fiverr, and I have been since the end of 2020. So we're talking 3 months. There are some days when I used to get so many orders that I needed to cancel them to keep up. But these days, I'm not getting any orders. I'm just wondering how people become level 2 in 3 or 4 months. For me, it's looking like level 1's going to be even difficult to achieve. Any tips? Yeah, my first tip is going to be about something you said in your question. Don't cancel orders. Now, I get that you might have been overwhelmed. You might have gotten more orders than you thought you would, and that was hard to handle. But canceling orders will affect your ability to get future orders. You don't want to cancel orders. So try not to do that ever again. I think that might be a part of your problem. Like I said with Daniyal's question just before, it's hard to know why things are changing, why your orders are going down without seeing a full picture of your gigs and your activity. But I think the most important thing to remember is that cancellations have a huge effect on your bottom line as a seller, your traffic, your rank, all this stuff. Fiverr does not want to see their buyers place money into the platform and then have to give it back because you canceled an order. That's not what they want. So remember to avoid cancellations at all costs. And if you can, put in some extra long hours, get those orders in and done when things are hot and heavy. That way orders will continue to come through when they're more steady and even. So thanks for watching. Thanks for your question. Kurthana Anadan. I'm horrible at pronunciations, but I hope I'm doing your all's names justice. Kurthana Anadan says, I have a buyer that is playing games with me. This is never good. I've delivered on time, and he came back 2 days later and asked for a revision, saying, I have some changes, and I'll get back to you. Then he disappeared for 8 days. When he came back, I delivered again quickly, and then he disappeared again. He keeps asking for revisions with an empty note and then disappearing. What should I do? I got to agree with you. He's playing games, and this is obnoxious. What I have done in this case, and you really have to balance out how risky am I going to get in this situation, because you don't want to anger the customer. I've spoken with customer success reps about this scenario, and their suggestion is let it sit there in review. The problem is you don't get paid. That's the problem with that advice. Let it sit there in review, and then hopefully you can work things out and get it closed with the client. What I do is when someone leaves me an empty review, I'll let it sit there for up to a week. If they don't respond in a week, I'll redeliver. Make sure you redeliver the product so it's not an empty delivery. Redeliver and say, haven't heard from you in a week. You have X amount of days left to request revisions. I have a 2-week policy, so I'm able to say after a week, you have 1 week left to request any revisions. You can do that here up to the next week. And then if they send me nothing, then I'm simply going to say, hey, you could also take the tactic of saying, hey, redeliver. You can only request a revision if you have something for me to actually do. Do you have an action I can take? I can't let this set in revision without an action. That's a policy. If you want to make that your policy, that's a policy. Just make sure you have a policy for your work and revisions, especially for length of time and whether or not you will allow somebody to request a revision without actually having an actionable item for you to work on. So come up with a policy, and I would say just be persistent, redeliver, be kind, but be persistent that unless they have something for you to do, you can't let it sit there forever. So I think that should help you. Thanks for your question. Catherine Bendania says, how can I promote my gig? Is there an option on Fiverr? Well, Catherine, absolutely. There's an option on Fiverr for gig promotion, but only for hand-chosen gigs in specific niches, meaning that Fiverr has not opened promotion up to everybody. If they've opened it up to you, you'll see the promoted tab at the top of your dashboard, and it'll say new right next to it, gig promotion. You can participate if your gig was chosen and your gig is in one of their chosen niches. Those are the two criteria. So if you're not seeing that on your dashboard, it probably means Fiverr has not chosen you yet, or maybe the service you offer is not in the promoted gigs categories that they've opened it up to yet. They started out slow, rolled it out to just a few categories and niches, and I think it's going to get bigger as time goes on. So yes, you can, but just might not be an option for you yet. So hang in there. Maybe it'll come soon. Go back and watch my video about promoted gigs. I've kept an eye on this. I've pretty much stopped using promoted gigs. I'm getting almost no results. I think you need to have a high dollar service to see a real benefit from promoted gigs, and to throw $200, $300, $400 a month out there and just hope that you get something out of it on Fiverr is not yet proven like it is in the rest of the world, like Google ads and other PPC campaigns. So I would caution you that you probably don't need Fiverr's gig promotion option anyway. Thanks for your question. Samton Dorji says, hi, I was getting orders almost every day with my data entry gig. Then I thought about increasing my price. So I did. After I changed the price, it completely stopped my orders. I stopped getting orders. Even after I reset my prices to where they were before, it's been 2 months now. Samson, this is the danger of changing prices. I noticed every time I changed prices in years past, there was always a little dip. There was always a little dip where people would stop ordering because you're going to lose some customers who thought you were at a great deal at the current price and don't want to pay your new prices. Hopefully, if you have a great service, then you'll develop new customer bases that are okay with that price point. But there's always the risk that you alienate your price point, that you overprice yourself. The market doesn't think you're worth it, and you lose those customers. That's frustrating. That can be difficult to deal with. Sounds like that's what happened here. And even if you put your prices back, those customers are already gone. The search engine damage is already done. You can keep your prices back in the old spot, but you're going to have to work hard to get yourself back to where you were before. Most of the time, my advice for raising prices is wait till you're completely overwhelmed and there's tons of orders coming through. Make sure your demand is really high. It's supply and demand. Your supply of your time is limited, so when demand is really high, prices need to go up. Otherwise, there's really not much merit in a price raise. So make sure you're watching those things. Make sure you're paying attention and raising prices at the right times, because you can do real damage, and sometimes it's hard, if not impossible, to undo. Rob Mead says, I'd like to know what you believe is a good impression ratio or a click ratio when you're first starting out. Rob, this is a really hard question to answer, but I'm going to answer it probably not in the way you want, but in the way that I think is most helpful. I'd stop watching your impression rates. Impressions mean nothing. I've been doing this almost 10 years. I really never look at my impressions. Why? Because all I care about is orders. I'm worried about what's coming through. So you could be getting 1,000 impressions every 30 days, but you might have a very high, click through and purchase conversion rate. You might be getting 10,000 impressions every 30 days, but have a very low conversion rate. Impressions are not really what matters. It's about conversions. It's about sales. And you can keep a pulse on that by how busy you are, by watching your dashboard, by seeing what changes you're making, what effect it's having on the orders and the order prices and all that stuff. Just listen to your customers. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to what the market is saying about your services, your prices, and all those things. And you don't need to worry about the statistics. The impressions don't really matter. So that's kind of an old guy traditional answer, but that's how I roll. Somebody said that in the comments this week. Joel's teaching the slow traditional ways of doing things. But the truth is those things work. So stop watching statistics so hard. Stop worrying about what they should be and worry about the results of those statistics. What do your conversions look like? What do your sales look like? What can I do to improve those things? Because that's the bottom line of your business. Thank you for asking your question. Umar Hassan says, I ordered some fake orders on my account. Oh, that is a horrible idea. And now my account's been deranked. Gee, you think? And I'm on the last page for the last 6 months. What should I do? Umar, I'm sorry to say, you can't go back in time. We don't have a DeLorean. We can't send you back. But what you should have done is never ordered fake orders. I'm not even sure where you're ordering these things. I see people asking that in the comments all the time. Hey, can you go buy my order so I can get a review and ranking and I'll pay you back? Like that is dumb. We'll just say it that way. These are foolish things to do. Do not try to take a shortcut when building a business. Fake orders, fake reviews, all of these things will get you kicked off of platforms, deranked. You're lucky you even still have a Fiverr account. All these things are bad and you need to keep yourself distanced from them. You already have done it, so there's no way to go back and undo it. Your account might not ever recover, but you're going to have to work really hard to get it back to maybe where it was. It sounds like it wasn't built up very much in the first place since you were ordering fake orders to try to get reviews, I assume. But let this be a lesson to all of you. Don't do silly stuff like this. Not even just on Fiverr. We're talking like Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Don't buy fake likes and views and stupid stuff like that. It's not going to get you anywhere but the bottom quick. So just, take your pill and learn from it. That's all you can do. Sorry. Dinah Galal. Hey, Dinah. Dinah's always got a good question in here. So appreciate you watching. Appreciate you asking questions. She says, do you reply to buyer reviews? As in the public reply on their comment with the rating. Should I, or is the rating and comment enough? Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar, but most of you probably aren't or are already familiar with this system, when you're notified that a buyer has left a review for you based on the work that you've done, you have to leave a review for them before you can see their review. What Dinah's talking about is the opportunity to comment on the seller's review after that. The answer for me is no, I don't respond to those reviews unless there's something that needs to be clarified. Unless the reviewer said like, oh, great work, but kept me waiting on this for a week, then maybe I would comment and say, glad you liked your final product. A week was the promised timeline. I delivered on time and I'm glad you're happy with your work. Just so people don't take somebody's careless comment and say, oh, well, they take too long. Well, no, you actually did exactly what you said. I use it if I need to clarify something or defend myself, but otherwise that's a very rare occasion, maybe like once or twice a year. Other than that, I don't comment on there because I don't think buyers are really seeing those, but there's nothing wrong with that. If you do that, maybe they are going to see that. Maybe they are going to say, man, they are really connected. Maybe it's a good idea, because just because I don't doesn't mean you shouldn't. So yeah, maybe that's something you could think of, but I don't think it helps or hurts either way. Thanks for your question. Thanks for watching. Simon asks, I just made a new account and I drafted my first gig. Hey, welcome to the Fiverr family. It's been almost 2 months and I haven't launched my drafted gig. Simon, come on. Because I'm still scaling it and trying to make it the best it can possibly be. Am I taking too long? Simon, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with but one step, right? You have to get out there. You've got to get started. You've created a gig. It doesn't matter how good you make it. There's going to be something in there that needs to be changed, can be improved. You will never know what needs to be improved unless you get started. So I say, publish that bad boy today. It's never going to be perfect. It's better to do something than to try to do something perfectly. So get it out there, get it going, start selling. Simon, do it. Do it. Thanks for your question. Nathaniel Demiran asks, can I change my portfolio sample in Fiverr even if I've already delivered the project and the buyer accepted it? Nathaniel, the answer is no. The way that Fiverr's portfolio works, I'm assuming you're talking about the live portfolio, is that the buyer has complete control of what displays there, and the only thing that can display there is delivered work. So in other words, you can't go back and modify that sample. If you deliver a logo design and the buyer accepts it and they say, yes, you can put this in your portfolio, it goes there. You cannot delete, you cannot upload, any of those things. If you're a top-rated seller, you'll have a feature called My Portfolio that will appear on your profile page, not on a gig page, your profile page with all your gigs, and you can upload things to that, but that's only for top-rated sellers, and I've heard a lot of people say that they don't see those things. So if you're talking about live portfolio, the answer to your question is no, you cannot change that. You cannot upload something new. It is what it is, and the buyer has control over whether it displays or not. And finally, drum roll please, our last question from Waleed Aftab. Waleed asks, what's the difference between top-rated seller and pro-verified seller status? And what are the pros and cons of it? This is a really good question. A top-rated seller is someone who has worked their way up the ranks of Fiverr, who has started from the bottom, became a level 1, level 2, and now a top-rated seller. They are actually chosen by Fiverr, handpicked to be top-rated sellers, and they get there through their merit. The pro-verified sellers can be brand new, have no experience and no reviews on Fiverr. You can simply apply to be a pro-verified seller, and Fiverr is looking for specific people in specific niches to represent the pro section. I think this is kind of confusing because many people might think pro-verified means, oh, they're a Fiverr pro. No, it doesn't really mean that. It means that they provide a high-level service. In fact, this is Fiverr's way of trying to pull agencies and high-level service providers to the platform as another way to get an income stream. So for most of you who are Fiverr sellers, graduating to Fiverr Pro is not really in the cards. That's not really what Fiverr has intended, though some people can and do. What Fiverr really intends is for you to graduate to be a top-rated seller and for agencies and high-level pros from the outside to use Pro-Verified. So Pro-Verified does not mean that you have great experience on the platform, that you know how it works, and you have a history of people serving it there. It means you provide a high quality of work, and Fiverr has approved you to be a pro based on your quality of work and your prices. They want Pro-Verified sellers to have premium prices. So all these things go together, but they are not the same. They may sound similar. They are not the same, and the path to them is not the same either. So yeah, thank you for that question. And thank you to every single one of you who's asked these questions. These were great questions. There was a lot to learn. This is a long video, and so if you're still watching, I'm glad that you've made it through this. If you've got a question, leave me your question down below. This is super exciting for me. I love to do this every week. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and if you like this content, give me a thumbs up. It really helps our channel to grow. We're closing in on 5,000 subscribers, and it's all because of you all. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here, and until next time, remember, keep doing, because the future favors the doers.